Hello. My attention was drawn to this article in The Guardian. Right. I don't know whether this person sent me the article because he just wanted to punish me by forcing me to read The Guardian, another article in The Guardian, another heap of manure in The Guardian, or whether he was actually, as he said, genuinely irked. I have to say that this article has given me some pain because it contains so many elements that I hardly know where to start, but I'm going to have a stab at it anyway. You should forgive the expression, and I'll talk about it. And the article starts with this blaring headline: what would the Owami Davies case look like if she were a blonde white woman? And this is written by Babu. Now, first of all, I have to tell you anyone who hasn't been following the Owami Davies story, is that a young woman, a nurse, a couple of weeks short of her final exams, I think, went missing. And it's taken several weeks to find her. Hence this dishonest headline. Okay, and then the subheading is police squandered opportunities to reunite a missing person of colour. So this isn't just a missing person, it's a missing person of colour, and that means a big deal to whoever wrote this article. I'm going to tell you about him in a minute. And it says not for the first time. Oh yes, so the police have a history of not finding missing people. Allow me to make the point here that people go missing in the United Kingdom all the time, and very often the police don't find them. They squandered opportunities. I want to tell you about that. What's happened on one occasion was that a policeman actually was called to the police had their attention drawn by a concerned member of the public to some woman in a flat somewhere, and we'll get to that in a minute. But they went to the door, and the young woman who answered the door said, "No, there's no problem here, I'm fine," and the policeman went away. It was a while before they put two and two together and realised that was the missing person. But this was simple procedural matter. Bobby on the beat went round and checked on a situation which turned out not to be a situation. But this is squandering an opportunity. Well, unless you take photographs of everybody and fingerprints and insist that when they talk to you they submit to an internet search and a thumbprint search, then then this sort of thing is going to happen all the time. Hang on, I am getting ahead of myself here. All right, and then underneath the subheader it says here, Babu is a former chief superintendent in the Metropolitan Police. So that's a provenance to be respected, isn't it? According to The Guardian, that's all they say about him. Let's have a look at Mr. Babu's career, should we? The Guardian from February of 2013. Senior Asian police officer retires after promotion snub over media skills. I just want to go into that. You see what I mean about lots of stuff. At the end of this article, where most people would not get to because they're in a hurry, it says here, this article was amended on the 6th of February, that's 2 days after it had first been published. This article was amended on the 6th of February 2013 to change the word quits to retires in the headline. So we already have here part of the dishonesty of The Guardian. The journalist who'd written the story had said quits because she was giving the information that he'd flounced out in a sulk. And The Guardian obviously thought this didn't look good, and so they turned it to retires, which is a more delicate way of putting leaving a job. It's part of the natural course of leaving a job, so there's nothing flouncy about it, and it's altogether to do with, mutual agreement. When you retire, it's usually because you've come to an agreement of some sort, or the end of a term of some sort. So that's the Guardian for you. Anyway, so senior Asian police officer quits after promotion snub over media skills. Chief Superintendent Babu walks out after 30 years service, lamenting a failure to replicate the communities we serve. And one of the most senior Asian policemen in the country is quitting the service on Monday after being rejected for promotion to chief officer rank. Now, I would like to point out here the communities they serve. The white police officers in Oldham and Rochdale and Rotherham and Telford and Oxford and places like that, they serve the community, not just the white community, but everybody in the community. And they did a singularly bad job of serving the white community, didn't they? So I don't see what reflecting the community you serve has served any purpose in that. But this is how he sees it. Black policemen for black communities, Asian policemen for Asian communities, white policemen for white communities. This is how he seems to be seeing the world. And that doesn't surprise me that his personal file, which he has seen, it says here, contains the comments, "This officer is over racially sensitive." I'll get to that in a minute. Chief Superintendent Babu speaks 4 languages, has been awarded the OBE, holds a master's degree, and is responsible for soaring public confidence ratings in the London Borough of Harrow he runs. Now, I just want to go through that because this is something that the journalist has inserted, and it's supposed to give you a positive picture. Actually, it gives you neither a positive nor a negative picture of Babu. He speaks 4 languages. Well, he might be supremely intelligent, but it might be that he was brought up in a multilingual household. He might have, for instance, learnt French and German at school, and then 2 subcontinental languages of some sort, Urdu and Hindi perhaps, or some sort of local dialect, which is a language in its own. We refer to them as dialects sometimes when they're actually languages in their own right. But you see what I mean? That doesn't necessarily mean that he is anything more worthy because he speaks 4 languages. And he's been awarded the OBE, I suspect, because he was one of the first high office Asians, or maybe the first, in the Met. But that was an achievement. But again, it doesn't say anything truly amazing about him. It's good. He obviously will have come across some old school police who were not very nice about his ethnicity. But so has anybody of any minority ethnicity anywhere in the world. He holds a master's degree, good. He's obviously an intelligent man, but that doesn't say anything remarkable about his character, about how he does things, about actually how good he is for the Met. That doesn't say anything. There are many very intelligent people who are really stupid when it comes to ordinary life. And then it says, and is responsible for soaring public confidence ratings in the London Borough of Harrow he runs. Now, that is an assertion for which there is no proof offered here. He might very well have been responsible for soaring public confidence ratings. Then again, it might be that he's just got a good rep among the Asian population who see him as something of a spearhead, which is not a bad thing. But again, that doesn't say anything about his actual character. Anyway, that's my take on that bit of the paragraph. And then she says, but was considered unsuitable to assume chief officer rank because his media interview skills were not deemed good enough. So, I mean, that's a very skillful bit of writing, that. She's saying what a worthwhile, intelligent, well-educated, erudite man he is, who's done marvels for the Met in Harrow, and then he's been denied higher office promotion. So, you know, that's something we should all be shocked about, yeah? This officer is over racially sensitive. The one who said that might have been himself over racially sensitive, might not have liked Mr. Babu, might have felt some prejudice against him. But I would suggest that if an officer is writing a report which other people can see, then that officer will be quite careful about the wording, about not putting himself in the firing line for racism or that sort of thing. So if that officer wrote that down, it must be something that officer saw in Mr. Babu, or Chief Superintendent Babu, when he was interviewing him, or just over the assessments that he's seen. Yeah, I'm not discounting the possibility that that assessing officer was a jerk. I mean, there are many police who are jerks. You can see that in the behaviour of the police last week when they were policing a pride rally and a group of lesbians were there. I have to point out here that we have to define, like we have to define woman, we now have to start defining lesbian. A lesbian is a woman who believes that having sexual congress with a fully equipped man, whether or not he wears a skirt before, during or after the act, that a lesbian woman does not believe that that qualifies as a lesbian relationship. So the police, now the policeman, I'll just play a clip of that there.
Whatever you are at the moment is causing. Safely march yourself.
We don't want to do that. We want to be.
But that's your choice. So what I'm telling you is to make sure it's safe. We are going to remove you from the road, and I want you to do that of your own accord.
I want to make sure I understand that you are removing lesbians from like LGBT.
Now that policeman was either being a jerk or was taking his orders from somebody who was being a jerk. But yeah, the police are quite capable of being jerks. Not much glory to them there. And there are other things. I mean, later on in the next article, which I'm going to be showing you, Babu implies that the police didn't spend as much time looking for a missing person because that missing person was black than they would have spent for looking for somebody white. Or white, as a Scottish parliamentarian puts it. Here, I'll put another clip of him there.
The Lord President, white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The Head of the Law Society, white. The Head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every prison governor, white. And not just justice, the Chief Medical Officer, white. The Chief Nursing Officer, white. The Chief Veterinary Officer, white. The Chief Social Work Advisor, white. Almost every trade union in this country headed by people who are white. In the Scottish Government, every Director General is white. Every chair of every public body is white. That is not good enough. I don't doubt that if I looked across the private sector, that black and minority ethnic people would similarly be underrepresented.
That was Hamza Youssef, the Scottish cultural or welfare, what is he, Cabinet Secretary for Health and Social Care. Okay, Yeah, I told you it was going to be complicated. Should I put it? No, I'll read it now. Groups of men sharing Mr. Babu's cultural background and faith were being pandered to, literally, by a bunch of white policemen in Oldham, in Rotherham, in Rochdale, in Oxford, in Telford, and it's still going on. And they are not jumping to the assistance of the white working class girls who are being victimised by these groups. But this seems to have escaped Mr. Babu's attention. So that's the background of a chap who didn't get promoted and, yeah, seems to be in a giant sulk about it. Well, this is the article. He starts off by telling us that the young woman who went missing, here's a picture of her, she's been found safe and well. And so you might ask, what is the point of this article? And, well, that's because... That's because it only looks like a happy ending. While the family undoubtedly got the news they were hoping for, they are still owed answers about how this case was handled. Once again, a black family has had to suffer with grace through the disappearance of a loved one and the constant questions about whether the situation would be taken more seriously were they white.
The Lord President, white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy
Couldn't
Chief Constable,
resist
white.
that.
Every Assistant Chief Constable,
What
white.
should have followed was the Essex and Metropolitan Police sharing information. Well, you see, that has nothing to do with white and black, has it? He's skipped over that, but it's to do with police procedures. Nobody is pretending that the police are the best place they could be right now. They don't talk to each other, they hide things from each other, and they, I have to say, I once was a witness to something and I had to write a witness statement. The police wrote it for me, and I went through it with a pencil, correcting stuff. And the policeman said that's the first time anyone's ever corrected his work. He felt like he was back at school. But I couldn't put my name on the bottom of that list of semi-literate nonsense. It was just awful. And I was quite shocked at how badly that had been done. And he was a nice man. He was good, he was helpful, he was trying to help, he was being very kind. You know, I wasn't in the best of state while I was dealing with this, but I can assure you I was perfectly grammatically correct. But he had no control over the English language. All right. Okay, so, I'm afraid that's a bad sign in itself. What should have followed was the Essex and Metropolitan Police sharing information. In fact, the missing persons inquiry was held by Essex with requests made to the Met to carry out inquiries on its behalf. In my experience, this is a cumbersome process and dependent on who answers the phone or reads the email. Yeah, yes, and yes. But that has nothing to do with black and white. Look how he has to twist himself to get it back into a black and white issue. We know that Davies was seen by Met officers in London on the 6th of July, but were unaware of who she was. This opportunity to help Davies was horrifically squandered. Yes, but it has nothing to do with black and white. It's just because the police were badly organised. I'll get to what happened was that some concerned member of the public rang the police about a young woman in a flat, and the police went round there. Yeah, that's good, is it not? And the young woman answered the door, and the policeman said, "We want to find out if you're all right. We've had a report." Maybe she'd been screaming or crying. Maybe she was with people who weren't treating her that well, but she was there at the door. She could have said, thrown herself at the policeman and said, "Oh, thank goodness you're here, please rescue me." No, she didn't. What she said was, "Oh, I'm fine, there's no problem. Thank you very much, officer." And she shut the door. Now, it wasn't until a lot later that the police realised that was the missing woman. who obviously did not want to be found. But according to Babu, it's because she was black. We need to know exactly what resources were allocated in the first days between the 6th and 22nd of July when the Met took over. Was responsibility for the investigation clear? What exactly was the exchange between the Essex and Met Police? Oh, and so, yeah. Is this a matter of black or inefficient? You know, did the massive reduction in police resources and inexperienced officers play a part in the direction of the missing persons inquiry? No, I suggest it's because police resources were diverted into policing Twitter and Facebook posts and arresting, you know, like 19-year-old girls or middle-aged businessmen for passing on jokes and lyrics of songs. That's what I think. But yeah, he talks about full transparency. Oh, they like to use that word. I would like to point out that when everything is black, transparency is not possible. The Independent Office for Police Conduct has indicated it may investigate Scotland Yard over this matter. May. Yeah, it may. It may put more policemen on the beat as well. Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. Davies's case shows we need to reform the missing persons process. Again, yes. We need to reform all sorts of processes with the police. But I'll tell you what, the one process that we can reform is the process of not policing speech and not turning lesbians away from a pride march. For the irony of that. Okay. However, he's talking about reforming the missing persons process. But then again, we have to remember Miss Davies wasn't just missing. She was safe and well. And so far as we know to the making of this video, she did not want to be found. You know, this isn't some horrible case of a body in the wood or whatever, where the body stays where it is. This person, Owami Davies, she moved around. She ran. When the police went back to check that house, she'd already gone. The Guardian repeats that Mr. Babu is a former chief superintendent without saying that he left because he didn't get the promotion he wanted. And he didn't get the promotion he wanted because the person who assessed him said he saw things through black and white all the time, which this article would tend to confirm. And my question is this, was that because of their racism or because of his? Okay, well, that's my take on the Guardian article, and I'm sorry that certain groups of British society see things through this sort of lens. It's a distorting lens, and it's not healthy for anybody to look at the world through a distorting lens all the time. Okay, I'm Granniopteryx. I'm to be found on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. Please like and share this video. Please subscribe to my channel. If you think you're subscribed on YouTube, just check that out because subscriptions drop all the time. Click the bell, you know, that sort of thing. If you want to know about any new upload, again, because YouTube is a little careless in that respect, subscribe to me at Granniopteryx on Twitter, Gab or Parler, or all three, and you'll get notifications. I always put out the notifications of an upload. Okay, support my channel if you can. You can see I have Buy Me a Coffee, there's Subscribestar and PayPal. Links are in the description below. And yeah, I think that's it. Till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Granniopteryx design or Grambo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share, share, share.